Just another fantasy anime, but here the teacher's gonna bag his students. Damn, dude. It's not that criminal, my guy. Alright, but let's get to the video so you understand. Barrio's a middle-aged swordsman who runs a dojo in the middle of nowhere, living a chill life. One day while training, his dad turns to him and says he'd really like a grandkid to take care of. It's been years since Barrio took over as instructor, but he's still single. Barrio says he's too busy with the dojo and family to think about kids, but his dad insists he's just making excuses. He even suggests Barrio raise one of his students to marry, but for ethical reasons, Barrio refuses. What kind of talk is that, old man? This dojo's been in Barrio's family for generations. He's worked hard as an instructor since taking his dad's place. Back in the day, he dreamed of greatness, like becoming a famous swordsman. But though he's definitely better than most, he doesn't think his skills earn him the title of master. That said, he considers himself a good teacher, since many of his students became successful swordsmen after graduating. When training ends, Barrio heads home to eat with his parents, but his dad keeps pushing him to find a wife. Barrio's dad tries to get his mom to pressure him too, but she says these things take time and there's no need to rush. Still, she also hopes Barrio gives her a grandkid soon. Barrio chokes on his food a little. Easier said than done, especially when he's got no girlfriend, and it's not like some pretty girl's just gonna show up at the door. A few seconds later, someone knocks. Barrio opens it. And guess what? A pretty girl. She greets him as Master, and on closer look, Barrio realizes she's a former student, Lucia Citrus. Barrio invites her in and offers tea so they can talk. He remembers Lucia was talented but never imagined she'd become commander of the Royal Knight Order. Anyway, Barrio asks why she's here, and Lucia explains part of her duty as commander is training new recruits. So, she's recommending Barrio as a special sword instructor, even got an Imperial Order approved. She came to tell him Barrio never asked to be an Imperial instructor, so he considers refusing. But his dad warns that disobeying an Imperial Order could mean execution, so he can't ignore it. Lucia assures him he won't be killed, but there'll be serious consequences if he refuses. So better accept. She's even got a carriage waiting to take them to the capital. They can leave now. Tomorrow she'll explain the job details. Barrio can't believe Lucia wants him to leave immediately, but his dad's already on board. He wishes Barrio luck and tells him to find a wife in the capital. Heck, Lucia'd make a great one, he adds. Barrio tells him to quit it. He's embarrassing her. The age gap's huge, but Lucia mutters she wouldn't mind. Anyway, Barrio doesn't want to find out what the serious consequences are for refusing an Imperial Order. So he accepts and leaves, with Lucia. In the carriage, Barrio notices Lucia still uses the sword he gave her, the same one he gives all graduating students. Hers is well kept. Barrio's happy she values it but says it's not fit for a knight. She insists it's perfect. He guesses she's attached because it's from her childhood master. She still thinks he's better than her, but he's just some no-name swordsman. Then Lucia grins. The legendary country swordmaster is finally coming to the capital. Barrio's confused. He's no country bumpkin or swordmaster. But Lucia says he's famous in fencing circles, with dozens of legendary students. He's a living myth, though he hates the title. Barrio finds the story amusing but insists Lucia's just seeing him through nostalgia. They reach the capital, and Lucia drops Barrio at an inn to rest, saying she'll fetch him tomorrow. The next day, she takes him to the castle and presents him to the knights. You should be honored to have him, but some knights doubt Barrio's worth, especially one guy who's pissed. Later, Lucia congratulates Barrio on becoming an official instructor. He'll only need to train recruits 3 to 4 times a month, so it won't interfere with his dojo. Just then, a girl sprints at Barrio, overjoyed to see him. Karuni, a former student from 2 years ago. Her dream was joining the knights, and Barrio's proud she made it, even as a recruit. Like Lucia, she's thrilled to train under him again. That evening, Barrio heads home, only to find another ex-student, Reed, waiting with his wife and newborn. Barrio's happy for him, but his dad cuts in, "Don't come back till you've got a wife and kid like Rid." Turns out Rid's retiring as a platinum-ranked adventurer to return to the village. Barrio's shocked he'd give that up. But Rid says adventuring's too risky now that he's a dad. He even offers to take over the dojo. Barrio's baffled. His dad's basically kicking him out. Next day, Barrio explains to Lucia he needs a place in the city. The inn's too fancy, so he wants something cheaper. Lucia offers to help, or he could just live with her. Barrio refuses, awkward, disappointing her. She takes him to lunch instead, suddenly in date mode. On the way, some girl calls Lucia shameless for walking with a man she calls Master. This girl clearly has beef with Lucia and scoffs that a proud commander would hang with some rando. Barrio hides behind a map to avoid drama, but the girl yanks it away, then freaks when she sees his face. Master? Barrio's lost. She introduces herself as Serena Lysandra, the girl he saved and taught to sword fight 20 years ago. It takes a minute, but Barrio remembers the wounded kid he trained long ago. He's glad she's now a black rank adventurer. Serena apologizes for never visiting and asks why he's in the capital. Lucia explains his new gig, and Serena insists she'd be better at finding him a place. They start bickering. Barrio's exhausted, but with their help, finds a spot. He thanks them but begs them to stop fighting over him. They sulk off, and Barrio watches from his window. City life's chaotic, but at least he's got so many former students looking out for him. The next day, the knights are training as usual, with Vice Commander Hinats dominating everyone. After a match, Lucia announces a schedule change. Instead of 4x month, Barrio's starting today. She expects their best effort. But before class begins, Hinats steps up. To be a special instructor, Barrio needs to prove his strength. So Hinats challenges him to a duel. He's not being rude, he just wants to confirm Barrio's qualified. As Vice Commander, he's got the right to request this. Lucia approves. Wish she'd stop agreeing to things for him, Barrio thinks. But he's got no choice. Hinats assumes Lucia only vouched for Barrio out of childhood nostalgia, that he's not fit to train the order. So Hinats will prove it by crushing him. Barrion kinda agrees with Heinlitz. He doesn't think he's all that great either, but it'd be embarrassing for Lucia if the guy she recommended lost too easily. So he decides to give it his all. The duel starts, and Heinlitz charges in. Barru dodges, impressed by Heinlitz's power and speed, but he knows if he times a deflection just right, Heinlitz will overextend, leaving him open for a counter. And that's exactly what happens. Heinlitz is speechless. In a real fight, he'd be dead right now. Point to Barrio. They reset, and Heinlitz attacks again. Barrio's still shook by his strength, but all his moves are predictable, so dodging's easy. Heinlitz realizes he won't win half-assing it, and unleashes his ultimate technique, Roaring Blade Strike. It's too powerful to block or dodge. Barrio should be done for. But as Heinlitz swings, Barrio vanishes, reappearing behind him with his sword at Heinlitz's neck. And just like that, Barrio wins. Heinlitz isn't even mad, just amazed. He apologizes for being rude earlier. That night, Heinlitz throws a party to celebrate Barrio's hiring, but he has to know. How'd Barrio counter his spin move? Barrio shrugs. Just moved with your rotation, ending up behind you. Sounds simple, but it's way harder than he makes it seem. Anyway, Heinlitz is now hyped to train under Barrio, and so's everyone else. A week passes since Barrio became instructor. While two knights spar, he steps in to give tips. Their sword work's decent, but they gotta work on spacing. He demonstrates. Focus too hard on their blade, and they'll close the gap without you noticing. Might sound basic, but in a real fight, half a step's the difference between winning and losing. Barrio thought he was just dropping common sense, but the way everyone's staring at him? You'd think he'd just revealed the secrets of the universe? Ever since his duel, the knights treat his every word like gospel. He admits it's made his job way easier. After training, Barrio chills on a bench. Heinlitz hands him a towel, like a hype man. Then Karuni runs over. Got plans later? Barrio's free, so she asks if he'd like a tour of the city. Now that he thinks about it, he hasn't explored Baltrin properly. He agrees, and she bolts off, giddy to change clothes. Meanwhile, Lucha's in a royal meeting, delivering a report on the knight's status, especially their newly hired special instructor. She assures them Barrio's exceeded expectations. With nothing left to discuss, the meeting ends. Flashback time. Years ago, people warned Lucha, if you want to keep growing as a swordsman, don't become knight captain. Too much paperwork. But she took the job for one reason: to get enough authority to bring her master to the capital. When Lucha was a kid, her parents sent her to Barrio's dojo to learn self-defense. From day one, she knew he was different, kind, patient. His training? Unorthodox. Sword drills, log hopping for agility, basic strength work. Yet somehow, it clicked. One day, Barrio asked if she wanted a spar. She went all out, but couldn't land a single hit. His guard was impenetrable. Back then, Lucha assumed all instructors were this skilled, until her dojo attended a tournament. Her opponent? A mess. No strategy, just wild swings. She wiped the floor with him. Afterward, Barrio praised the exposure to different styles. Lucha asked, "Is our dojo just better?" Barrio shrugged. "Winning's not the point. Learning is." But then, disaster. Lucha realizes she left their hairpin at the rival dojo. She rushes back, only for the guy she beat to yeet it inside, smirking. "Want it? Fight all of us." Classic sore loser. Lucha could probably take them, but she knows Barrio wouldn't want her brawling, so she braces for the beating. Until wham, Barrio takes the hit for her. The sword strike doesn't even scratch him, but he frowns. "Is this how you wield a blade?" The jerk tries to swing again. Big mistake. Barrio disarms him in one motion, then blocks his buddy's attacks. Before it escalates, their actual instructor runs in, apologizing profusely. On the walk home, Barrio admits he had a bad feeling and followed her. Lucha feels guilty. He got hit because of her, but he brushes it off. Wasn't even a scratch. And you did nothing wrong. If anything, he failed as her teacher by letting her go alone. Flash forward. Years later, during another spar, Lucha finally lands a hit on Barrio. He's stunned. She's grown so much. She's ready to graduate. He hands her the ceremonial sword, but inside, Lucha's conflicted. She knew Barrio had no clue how insanely skilled he was. She didn't want to leave. There was still so much to learn, but arguing just caused trouble. So instead, she vowed to prove Barrio's techniques were superior. She enlisted in the Knight Order and took the test. Just as expected, none of the candidates could match the training Barrio gave her. Even the examiners couldn't keep up. Imagine facing Barrio himself. His reflexes are borderline superhuman, and his observation skills are next level. To Lucia, there's no doubt. Barrion's the greatest swordsman alive. Too bad Barrio has no idea, and honestly, he'd be happy staying a no-name master. But Lucia refused to let her teacher go unrecognized. Using her skills, she climbed the order's ranks, hoping to gain influence to support him. By the time she became commander, 10 years had passed since she left the dojo, and in that time, Barrio had gotten even more insane than she remembered. She does feel a little guilty for appointing him instructor without asking, but it was the only way to drag him out of that village and get him the respect he deserves. Back in the training hall, she asks Hinlitz how Barrio's lesson went. He says it was amazing. Everyone learned a ton. Lucia doesn't see Barrio around and asks if he went home, but Hinlitz says he left with Karuni. She wanted to show him the city. Lucia feels a tiny pang of jealousy. Karuni basically asked Barrio on a date, and she wishes she'd thought of that first. Meanwhile, on Barrio and Karuni's tour, she drags him through every shop in town. Barrio's stunned by how busy everything is compared to his village. He does find it weird she only took him to the West District, you know, where the boring stuff is, when the palace and church, aka actual sites, are up north. Karuni laughs. Yeah, but when you live here, seeing the palace gets old. Still, Barrio did want to visit it. While walking through the market, Barrio hears someone shouting, "Master!" He turns to see a girl sprinting at him. She must be a former student, but he can't place her. She seems like Karuni's friend, but nope, still drawing blanks. The girl pouts and points to her sword, jogging his memory. Luna? Barrio racks his brain. Oh right, her name's Feis, and she did train under him for 2 years with Karuni. But she looks way different now. It's been 5 years. Of course she'd grow up. Turns out she's thriving in the capital as the Magic Corps' top member. Barrio's proud but confused. Since when did I teach magic? Karuni asks if Feist is shopping, and she explains she's grabbing magic accessories. Barrio's clueless, so Feist demonstrates, lets anyone cast spells. Not that she needs them, being magic royalty. Just then, a woman screams, "Thief!" Barrio moves to chase the guy, but Feist smirks. "I got this." She draws her sword, channels magic, and slashes, sending a wave of energy that trips the thief. Karuni pins him down. Barrio's mind blown, especially by the spell work. Never seen anything like it. Feist grins. "I just mixed magic with your techniques." Barrio's thrilled she's still using what he taught her. Next morning, Barrio's wandering, when a tiny voice shrieks, "Barrio!" He turns to see a literal child. "You lost, kid?" The girl explodes. "I'm not a kid. She's Lucy, head of the Magic Corps." Barrio laughs, until she flicks her finger and launches a giant fireball. Message received. "Piss told me about you," Lucy yells. She's older than Barrio, just short. And after Feist's rave reviews, she had to meet this legendary teacher. Barrio shrugs. "Nah, Feist did all the work herself." Lucy ignores him and drags him to an open field. Any gamer knows where this is going. She lives for magic but has no worthy opponents. Since Barrio's a master, she demands a duel. Before he can refuse, whoosh! A fire blast barely misses him. The look in her eyes says it all. No escaping this fight. Yo, loving Lucia's backstory. But damn, Barrio's got too many girl students. Where's the dude to balance things? This anime's shameless, I swear. At least Barrio's not a creep like certain isekai dads. Anyway, wanna be a sword master like Barrio? Smash that like button, sub for your own sword waifu, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next video. Peace out.